Okay, Yinzers, we have a new Pittsburgh Steeler making his way to the Steel City, and it's Washington tackle slash guard slash maybe center as well, Troy Fautanu. We're all excited about this. Let's break it down a little bit, but first, want to, of course, thank some of our sponsors here with the Sick Podcast, Steelers Crazy. I want to tell you guys a little bit about Better Health. We're very happy to have them on board with us. Yeah, it can be easy to ignore our social battery and spread ourselves thin, but listen, in social gatherings, they're picking up after the winter. Therapy can give you the self-awareness to build a social life that does not drain your battery. Find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.pits to get 10% off your first month. And listen, being completely genuine, I don't think any Steelers fans are going to consider therapy right now after that first pick, because Troy Fautanu is a really, really good player. He might not be the sexiest player in the class, but this is a guy we had going in the top 15 for a very long time, which is why I had guys like Graham Barton and Jackson Powers Johnson with a higher percentage ultimately to go to Pittsburgh. But how can you complain? This is a guy who's going to slot right in at starting right tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You move Broderick Jones over the left side, and you feel pretty damn comfortable about your offensive line heading into the 2024 NFL season, which is a win-now season. Am I right, T? Am I right? It's a win-now season. It's a founder right there of Shop Yins. Great spot. Get a hat like this. Get some T-shirts like this. All good stuff all around here hanging out. It says we're going to bring it home. Well, Troy Fautanu is coming to the Steel City. Listen, he's three things about him. One, he's versatile. I mentioned it before. He can play tackle. A lot of people coming into this experiment thought he was going to specifically be a guard. Well, guess what? He comes to the Senior Bowl. He works out. He looks like one of the best damn tackles on the field. Works out at his pro day. Looks like one of the best damn tackles on the field. So I think everybody pigeonholed him a bit too early when it was all said and done. So Steelers get a guy who can slot in immediately right tackle. I think the pick probably would have been Graham Barton if Fontana was off the board. But you always get your tackle before you get your center. They're just the more important position in the NFL. You know, these guys are obviously blocking the edge rushers like Jared Verse and Dallas Turner, who were taking a few picks ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Fautanu, also a winner, obviously played on that Washington team that went to the playoff. Michael Penix. How can we not talk about the Falcons? Right now, it's hard for me to not spend this whole time saying WTF Atlanta Falcons. The Steelers definitely made a better pick than they did tonight, that's for sure. But played on a winning football team, really tough kid, played with a chip on his shoulder. Also, there were some medical concerns leading into the draft. I want to mention that. But obviously the Steelers, he passed the test, if you will, so to speak, maybe literally and figuratively, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, for him to be drafted at pick 20. My draft board, Quinyon Mitchell. I got to throw that name out there really quickly. Man, I had compared this dude to Sauce Gardner. Top corner in the draft by far. I'm not sure if he's gone yet. I'm looking at Philadelphia on the clock at 22. Did you see who went 21, Taylor? I'm not sure, to Miami. Not that it really matters. But that's a guy, if it were me, I might have considered taking. But leading up to this whole process and throughout this whole process, I was dead set. I was locked into the Steelers taking an offensive player in round one. The absolute highest paid defense in football, right? I don't need another defender in the first round. Chop Robinson. Okay, Penn State outside linebacker edge went to the Dolphins. I don't need another defensive player in the highest paid defense in football with an offense who set football back generations the past couple of years, that's for sure, with the Kenny Pickett, Matt Canada-led offense. You got Russell Wilson, you have Justin Fields. What do those guys do more than any quarterbacks in the league? They scramble. They buy time in the pocket. What's going to help that more than anything? Obviously, protection up front. And that's what Troy Fautanu can provide at the right tackle position. Pencil it in. Take your Steelers depth chart. You can start filling out the bubbles. You're going to obviously have Roger Jones on the left side, Fautanu on the right side. While you're filling in those bubbles, though, we still don't have one in the middle of that offensive line. We still need a center. So that's something to keep in mind. TBD for sure. But man, what a trade up for a Jackson Powers Johnson or a Zach Frazier. Fortify this offensive line. And then the last 2 years you would have had a Graham Barton. I'm sorry, a Graham Barton. You would have had a Broderick Jones selection, a Troy Fautanu selection, which is already a home run, back-to-back classes, and then maybe you get your center too as well. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to try and retweet this and jump back on with you guys just because I would love to talk to more Yins. All right, we still got me, and hopefully you are hanging out with us over here at the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy. If you missed my first 5 minutes, I'll briefly recap now that I have just retweeted. Troy Fautanu, Pittsburgh Steeler, guy that's going to immediately be a plug-and-play at right tackle. Good player, excellent value. Look at every mock draft out there. Had Fautanu in the 10 to 15 region. I know what helped him drop. You can thank the freaking Atlanta Falcons for that. You can thank the Denver Broncos for that. I don't think many of us predicted 6 quarterbacks going in the first 12 picks. I thought when the Chargers took J.C. Latham at pick 5 that offensive tackles were going to essentially be picked apart prior to the Steelers pick. The Bengals take Mims, and that leaves the pick probably between Fautanu and Graham Barton, the center, ultimately. And Troy is going to immediately make a big difference on a team that you have 2 big-time quarterbacks who love to scramble, buy time in the pocket. Listen, with Dan Moore Jr. playing left or right tackle, you're not going to have, obviously, that kind of time to do what you need. So Troy Fautanu is going to play with a chip on his shoulder. Tough kid, proven winner, and a great leader from Washington. I'm excited to see what he can do, and I'm excited for the rest of the Pittsburgh Steelers draft. You know, they pick at 51. But I would not put it past Omar Khan to move up in this draft. You might still have a Jackson Powers-Johnson or a Zach Frazier on your radar. Heck, if these corners keep falling, think about it like this. Remember last year, pick 32, Joey Porter Jr.? Nobody thought he'd fell out of the first round. What if Terrion Arnold keeps falling? Heck, it might ultimately push Nate Wiggins into that 30 to 40 range, the way these corners continue to fall back. Could the Steelers end up leaving with a guy we thought would go in the top 15 and then a corner we thought would go in the top 25? Either way, it's an A start for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Once again, offensive linemen, they're not always going to be the sexiest pick, right? There might have been more people out there clamoring for Quinyon Mitchell or a receiver like Brian Thomas Jr., A.D. Mitchell, sexier picks. But listen, if you don't hear Fautanu's name, if that was the only time you're going to hear his name this year was called in the draft, if you don't hear his name called during games, that means he's doing a hell of a job. So I think overall right now it's 1 pick, but I'm giving it an A for the Pittsburgh Steelers because it is the side of the ball that needed to be addressed. I'll go over that one more time. The highest paid defense in the entire league. A defense with Micah Fitzpatrick, T.J. Watt. You just signed Patrick Queen. You have Joey Porter Jr., an ascending star. Alex Highsmith, tremendous player in his own right. Cam, he announced the pick. He looks suave, and he can still play the same way. I did not want a defensive player, although Quinyon Mitchell made it really difficult for sure in their war room. At the end of the day, if they took a tackle, I was going to be very happy. Fautanu is the guy tonight. So happy that, you guys came and engaged with me for a little bit here. There is a lot more draft to go. My favorite rounds are the next few rounds, actually. And, hell, who knows? You never know. Maybe the Steelers could trade back in at the end of the round if a guy they like is there. A Barton, an Arnold, a Wiggins. Let's see. The Eagles are picking right now live. It's got to be a corner, right? It's got to be a corner, Taylor. Let's see. If you're watching me right now and not the Eagles pick, I'm happy I get to break this to you. Jordan Mailata, their offensive tackle, is breaking the news from Melbourne. And it's got to be a corner, right? Quinyon Mitchell. How about that? There you go. Quinyon Mitchell to the Eagles. You want to talk about value. The Eagles, how do they always do it? These Eagles always find a way to do it. Cooper DeJean, another guy who might sit on the board for a little bit longer. Anyway, I'm Mike Nicastro. Find me at Mike Up Sports 1 on the Twitter, the X. That's the Sick Podcast, Steelers Crazy, and hello, Sammy. Thanks to Better Health. Thanks to Taylor. He puts out some great gear. Show that off. Play Renegade. Shop Yins. Show that hat. That's a beauty. Absolute beauty. Thanks to our guys, Shop Yins. And good stuff by the Pittsburgh Steelers. They get an A from me in round 1. Offensive line, not the sexiest players in the world, but, man, those big uglies make all the difference. Thanks.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.